call the meeting to order at this time. This open meeting of the Town of Auburn Select Board is being conducted both in person and remotely, consistent with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, which suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed to participate remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, dial 1-872-240-3212 and use access code 166-009-269. Or the public can join via computer at meet.goto.com/Camp Gleason. All supporting materials that have been provided to the members of this body are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. Is anyone else recording tonight's meeting? Seeing nobody, I will now ask the Finance Committee to call the meeting to order.
This meeting of the Auburn Finance Committee will be called to order. Tonight we have Kevin Kennedy, Patrick Jones, Andrew Shar, George Graham, and Steve Consilvio. Trevor said Susie couldn't make it tonight, and myself, Mike Marshall.
I'd like to call the school committee to order. The chair of the school committee will call the meeting. The school committee consists of myself, Megan Petrillis, vice chair, Brooke Wren, members Rachel Girardi, members Samantha Rayfield, superintendent Dr. R.J. Skaza, business manager Jennifer Stanek, member Stephanie Parker cannot be in attendance tonight.
So I'd ask if everybody can join, if able, to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So item number 5 on the agenda is the joint meeting to discuss goals and objectives for the special town meeting between the Select Board, Finance Committee, and School Committee. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Town Manager Dory Vecchio and other staff members.
Great, thank you. Through the chair, the Board of Selectmen and actually a Finance Committee over the last several months had requested that we meet to talk about the special town meeting and the goals and objectives as a town with all three boards. Because in the prior years, it would sort of be done piecemeal. Some of it would be the school committee, some of it would be us, some of it would be finance. And in order to bridge any gaps that we have, they had recommended that we meet and talk about priorities on the town side and also on the school side in front of the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee. So I can start briefly to talk about, we had hoped to have the fiscal year end numbers done. It's just typically they're not done till September, October. We don't have everything recorded. We don't have all the deposits. So we don't have our closeout for fiscal year 26 yet. I can tell you some of the amounts that I have that were priorities of the board, and we can discuss those. When I had my goals and objectives discussed probably a month or so ago, one of the things that they had asked for is a staffing study for the town, and my quote on that is $75,000. A building study of the mechanics of all town buildings to include school department buildings. So all the schools, the mechanics, the elevators, HVAC, electrical, all of that. My estimate for that is $80,000. And also a roadway improvement software program using AI is estimated at $40,000. So those were the numbers that I was able to obtain for this meeting based on the goals and objectives provided by my board to me. I don't know if you want to add anything there.
No, I just, if we can just, there's some other information that you had with respect to other financial conditions that the three committees should be aware of with respect to snow and ice deficit, et cetera, given that we're coming in a special town meeting, and typically there are financial items placed on the warrant that address that.
Yes, so Right now, we're looking at a fiscal year 26 deficit for snow and ice removal of $450,000. That's our deficit for last year that we need to make up in the recap. We do have RAP funds, which is a new funding source through the state that will help us to pay for that deficit. That is $257,000. So hopefully, okay, sorry. So obviously that will be used to offset the 450. The other shortfall we had was health insurance costs, which we had discussed with FinCom last week when we met. Our health insurance costs due to our GLP-1s and other costs, we're self-insured, so we actually pay for our own claims. You know, it's not like we have a universal rate with other people. We had a shortfall in 26 of $200,000. I am not yet sure if we need to encumber additional $200,000 for the fall town meeting. Because we ran short, I spoke to our consultant today and she believes we don't have to and that has already been considered. But that is something that is important to note. We were able to make up the $200,000 in fiscal year 26 due to a hiring freeze and a spending freeze on the town side. So we were able to pay for that out of fiscal year 2026 funds. Do you have any other information you want to provide from, like, for a money standpoint, free cash stabilization?
Sure. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of what we have in some of our reserve balances. Now, the free cash expired as of June 30th, and it's going to be recertified in the fall, which the town manager mentioned. But right now, the revised balance of the free cash that hasn't been used is $8,284,913. And currently on our stabilization fund, we have $4.9 million.
Great, thank you. I also believe that in the past for the special town meeting, we typically put appropriation in for OPEB, which is something that I would recommend that we continue to do, and I don't want to lose sight of that because that obviously is an important expense, and we typically always put money in stabilization as well. So those numbers can be determined as we move forward, but those are annual that we do every fall town meeting.
Thank you, Dory. So I would just turn it at this time over to the school committee. If your staff has sort of any updates that the other committees need to know about in terms of any upcoming financial commitments or things that were not part of the normal town meeting that might come to the special town meeting that we should all know about.
Our warrant articles.
Yes.
Mrs. Stanek, do you have them?
Yes, I do.
Would you like me to read them, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So for the fall town meeting, we are going to be seeking $300,000 from stabilization free cash to be financed and paid in FY '27 to fund a portion of the replacement of the all-purpose field at Auburn High School. In addition to that, we're looking to repurpose $150,000 from Bryn Mawr Building Rehab for the all-purpose field at Auburn High School, as well as $60,000 from Auburn High School Building Rehab and $40,000 from the scoreboards, also to be used for the all-purpose field. And let me just make sure. And the only other thing is we are also asking for the town to vote to appropriate $70,000 from stabilization of free cash to fund a portion of the replacement of our wheelchair-accessible multifunction activity bus. And to just give a little bit of background, the all-purpose field at Auburn High School has not been resurfaced or anything in the entirety of its lifespan. It was put in 2006. From my understanding, the DPW does the pellet vacuuming each year, but the fibers are at the point where we've had an overview of it, and it is actually a safety concern, and we're not going to be able to utilize that field after probably this fall season. So it has been, we do have $150,000 in our capital improvement, but it'll probably be about $700,000. That's kind of at this time. The longer we wait, obviously, the more expensive it could get. The other piece is we were very lucky last year to get fair share earmark money, and we were able to purchase a third multifunction vehicle. That does not have a wheelchair van. We have one multifunction vehicle that has the wheelchair van, and it is on its last leg. It really is. And that our special education department utilizes that pretty much every single day to go to work sites and job sites. They do the mail run with our students. So we need to have something that's wheelchair accessible.
Speak about the fields. Through the chair, I have met with the school department, and we spoke quite a bit about the fields. And unfortunately, and I'm not exactly sure why, but there was never really a plan on replacement of these fields. We met a couple months ago and determined that obviously we were going to start a plan so that this instance doesn't happen again. So obviously we have our 5-year capital plan, but what happens is some things need to be replaced after the 5-year mark, and they may not be thought of. So we need a longer term plan. We may budget the 5 years, but a longer term plan makes a lot more sense so that nothing actually drops off. Each of the fields on the school side will need to eventually be replaced. We do not have the expertise in-house in our Parks Department to maintain those turf fields. We don't have the expertise. So we need to also look from a maintenance perspective on what those costs will be as well. And I will work with the school department to get costs on maintaining the other fields as well.
Thank you. So at this time, when I envision this meeting as sort of a free-flow working group, then it would be too formal, going through the chair, et cetera. But at this time, why don't we go through the various committees? Given the information you have, are there any other questions you have about specific projects or more generalized financial information you're looking for? I think we're, looking forward to the full town meeting. I think we want to do something similar to this in November, sort of at the beginning of the budget season. But, this is sort of focused on the special town meeting. So I just ask that we keep, for the select board, that we keep comments to that. So Ms. Ruffley, if you have any questions, comments?
None at this time, thank you.
Mr. Carpenter?
Just one. I was glad we talked about OPEB and stabilization right off the top. I definitely want us to make sure we're funding that aggressively. I did have a question about Goddard Drive and a sewer project. There was a borrowing proposed of 4.7, but we didn't go out last year, and it wasn't in this borrowing. So I'm just wondering the status of that.
Through the chair, I don't know. I'll have to check with Joanna to see what the status is on that.
Okay. That's it for me.
So for myself, I'm happy that we're bringing the field issue forward. I think that this is sort of a good segue on a more generalized comment that I have going forward. And I know I'm probably not the only one sitting up here collectively that shares this feeling, but the condition of this field and the fact that it cannot be used past the fall safely for our students is sort of indicative of what I'm hearing about not just the fields at the schools, but other recreational fields that we have throughout the town as well. And I think, in my own personal opinion, we have not dedicated enough staffing, enough funds to really maintain the fields at the level expected for a true recreational program to support our youth sports programs, to support recreational use by all residents. And I think one of the concerns and one of the sort of hindrances to that is that we are a divided house in that Maintenance of the fields is in the town side of DPW. Management of some of the fields is done on the town side. Recreationally, management of some of the fields is done by school department, and tracking of the conditions and sort of working together. There doesn't seem to be a connection where everyone is talking to each other and everyone is using the same software and the same tracking system, the same management system. And there's a sort of a lack of understanding of the capabilities of DPW's maintenance staff to maintain turf fields compared to grass fields, et cetera. So when you're having the 5-year conversation in terms of the conditions of the fields, I hope that it's not going to just focus on the school fields and the school playing fields, but actually look at all of the fields throughout the town, all of the conditions needed at all the fields, so that we are doing a true build out of a capital program that looks at all field conditions for safety reasons, and maintains them at the level expected, not just for safety, but also for, for true recreational use going forward. With that, I will turn it over to the Finance Committee for any questions or comments.
We're just going to start down the end with Andy, who I know has many thoughts on fields.
I do, but I tend to agree with Mr. Corain on just about everything he said. I do a lot with the youth sports in this town, and, if the all-purpose field is not useful, then Pappas may be worse. So I agree that we need comprehensive looks at all the fields. I think we underutilize our grass fields because we think we're going to use the turf fields, which is great, but then they wear down probably faster than they need to. So maintaining the turf fields probably would help a lot, I think, in kind of spreading some of the costs over a greater period of time. It's near and dear to my heart, so it's definitely something I'm willing to look at, help with, do whatever we need to do. But I think I agree. We need to allocate more resources to that as a town from the DPW, and probably financially if we want a vibrant program to continue going. And we have pretty vibrant programs that utilize a lot of these fields, from soccer to football to lacrosse to, you name it, baseball. And they're all pretty invested. I think there's a lot of families invested in it in our town. So I would really echo what Mr. Corain said. So thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Steve, do you have any?
Hi. Well, let me first say I'm really glad we're having this meeting, because I thought for a long time the town should all talk to each other. So this is a good thing. As far as the recreation goes, it seems to me what should come out of this meeting is sort of bigger thinking than just the fall town meeting, but more like questions of, should we have a enterprise fund for the fields and stuff like that, which of course would have, if we had done this, some years ago, the high school field would probably already be in a replacement cycle, instead of dealing with this sort of in a crisis mode. And I would also, again, sort of big picture thinking about what this meeting should be and how often the boards get together. The other question is, we've been under the charter for, I think, 15 years or so. And it might be good to create a working group or a study committee to sort of check in and see what's working, what isn't working, so we don't run into these kind of, things that fall through the gaps between having a town administrator and now having town managers. And I just think there's also the generic problem, of course, which is, we're a small part of a much bigger organism called the United States. And sometimes things aren't running very well in the other areas. And our job ultimately is to sort of, circle the wagons and protect the town from what's going on outside. And, increases of, 20%, 30% in healthcare, some years ago we went to being self-insured. But, maybe it's time to let go of that. There's just different ways of approaching different problems. Some of these problems keep coming every year. And I think also as a body, we represent the town. Technically, our representatives represent us at the State House. But I'm not sure they actually hear everything that they're said because they're getting it from 100 different voices. Because every citizen has a voice. But if one town, or, you take the three boards are running the town. If the three boards have one voice, I think it has a much bigger impact in terms of passing the legislation that we need and, and regulations that, prevent, 20% increases in health insurance and things like that. So my hope for this meeting is that we come out of here with a much more concrete agenda of how we're going to deal with bigger questions and not just the annual budget.
Thank you, Steve. George?
I'll just echo what Andy said too. I mean, the more we get into these leagues and these meetings, it does appear the field's maintenance has been a problem, but it's really good to see that we've addressed it as a problem and we're working on a solution, and not just a one-time solution, but a plan to maintain it better. So I think that's great, and that's all I have.
Thanks, George. Patrick?
Sure, thank you. I have a couple of things. I came in with a certain, like other people, a frame reference of the town meeting. And I think I want to start off with something more simplistic in communicating. I think when we communicate to our town meeting members and to the town, when we do it through warrant articles, we do it very broken. And so first we get the warrant articles in, they have to be produced, and they're written. And those sometimes become very complex, and sometimes they have to be rewritten. And it's difficult because we have these timetables that we have to work with. And I think one of the challenges that we have is that we as a town sometimes are not in a position to really give the direction and the leadership that we can, because it might be conflict of interest or various different things in the person coming forward or the group of people coming forward with the warrant article. In its simplest form, on being a town meeting member over the years and sitting on boards, I find that a couple of 3 or 4 words like, and it's funny, they've been right in my head for the last 6 months, and tonight I want to say them, but just some verbiage in it that says this is a standard, this isn't going to affect the tax rate. Some kind of comment that says this is housekeeping. I don't know that we necessarily, but a couple of examples that I can think of off the top of my head was this past warrant article. We had Articles 23 and 25 on Nancy Drive and a few other streets. And what happened there was that the first one came up in 23. We were on the floor at town meeting, and somebody equated a dollar value to that warrant article. And there was no dollar value equated with it, but yet it sort of threw a curveball in and took a warrant article that could have easily been a housekeeping, put your hands up and been done, to a 15-minute discussion. So then that led to when 25 got up, I'm like, well, if we're going to talk about $200 value there, we really have to disclose the next 7 streets. So my point is whether we put housekeeping, and I defer to the select board, I defer to people that are writing the articles. I think what we have to do, and we're communicating with the public and town meeting, is come up with some recurring ability for them to move through the warrant articles and to focus on the areas that are really important and not get caught up. And I started to say something earlier and I cut myself off. Sometimes when the Board of Selectmen are reading the warrant articles before they come to the Finance Committee, there's a discussion that takes place and then it ends. And then the warrant article comes to us as a select board, as a Finance Committee from the select board. And then we have a discussion, and then it gets on the town meeting floor, and yet there's a third discussion that has nothing to do with the other two, or there's a going concern because in pre-town meeting. So I just, in its simplest form, wanted to mention that I think when we're going through the warrant article process, that for some of us that are writing them and using them and trying to conduct business, there might be a simpler way to streamline some of this information so that it moves through the floor of town meeting much better and we can all get to the same goal. Another thing relative to the fields, I think Mr. Vecchio, I'm so glad that you mentioned plan, because I, for the last couple of years on the Finance Committee, have felt that a 5-year capital plan is not going to be successful anymore. Not just for capital plan, but we can't get into fiscal year 26 and 27, and as boards, not talk about 27 and 28 and the impact. We're reaching $100 million. So if you took a basic accounting function of payroll, it's usually 60 to 70% of your budget. So at $100 million, that's $60,000 to $70,000. So if we were to do a 10% increase over a period of 3 years for our staff on a $60,000 payroll, that's $2.5 to $3 million a year that we're putting towards payroll. And if you look at some of these budget increases the last few years, we've had to go to 2.5, we've had to go higher or near it, and all we're doing is really shuffling some of these items. And so I wanted to take the opportunity that I think that part of my conversation is really more for the November meeting and for a future planning. But I think we have to start to, as boards and individuals that are working in these advisory roles, to think bigger picture, longer term, because every year it gets very difficult for anybody who's managing never mind Mr. Vecchio having the position that she has with the shoulders that she has. It's just so much. And I think revising some of the plans and the efforts that we're making at the way we approach this, and we're moving in the right direction. We're having this meeting. And that's what we need to do. We need to disclose and share, because as I say to individuals on the Finance Committee and other boards that I sit, sometimes we might not have the specific answer at the time, but you've given us knowledge that we can step away from, and then later we can look and we can then discern or look at a bigger picture and say, they had this problem here, they had this problem here, and they had this problem here, and we can fix all three the same way. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken?
I just want to build a little bit upon what Patrick said in terms of we need to look further out. The CFO mentioned, we talked about free cash briefly there with $8 million approximately. We utilized a good chunk of free cash this past year to keep us under 2.5. We used some for the fire station project, which are all good uses of it, but that's not sustainable. And I don't know there's going to be enough growth in revenue generated to make up that $8 million for subsequent years. So those are going to mean tough decisions for the folks that are seated at these tables here. And while there's a cost to doing business, there's a cost to public safety, there's a cost to DPW, there's a cost to educating our children, there's a cost to the quality of life with fields, but there's going to be difficult decisions moving forward. I want us to be careful in decisions we're making that are in front of us right now, and thinking about, are we going to have that in the next fiscal year or the fiscal year after that to make those purchases, those investments, and creative ways to do it. So yeah, I don't want to be the negative one up here. I want to, us to support, but the reality is I think I've been on finance for over 10 years now, and this is sort of the first year coming in that I've kind of got a pit in my stomach as to what we're going to do moving forward. So as a group, hopefully there's very intelligent people up here and great management for the town that we can find some ways, but just want to be careful that we're thinking far enough out, thinking for the future and not being short-sighted with our decisions.
Apparently the Finance Committee is the ones that's going to make this one go long tonight. So I have a few questions on fields. My first question is, do we know how old the field, or I know we know, but how old is the field at Pathos?
I was just thinking, I think it's newer than the high school fields. But it's getting up there. It's getting up there.
Just barely, I think it's 14.
Yeah, I think it was worse shit, to be completely clear. So even if it is younger,
I think it's 14 years.
Yeah, okay. So you mentioned earlier, Dory, the lack of expertise in caring for turf fields. I know that there is always a push and pull with like turf versus grass. We have a golf course, which is literally just a big, giant open field that from all accounts is beautiful, maintained perfectly. I I think it would be malpractice not to at least investigate converting these fields back to grass. Grass has been shown to be safer for kids and athletes on it than turf. And just generally speaking, we can maintain grass. You can buy grass seed. You can't pop a 10-foot square into a turf field without paying $100,000 to get someone to replace it. So just in the interest of like financial stability, we already have a DPW. We have people who are seemingly very good at maintaining a grass field that gets used pretty regularly. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. The other question that I had was, we had spoken earlier this year, not formally, but about the question of the enterprise fund for the golf course and whether that can be converted to a townwide recreation enterprise fund. Have there been any steps taken to start that conversion process? And if not, like how quickly can we start that conversion process and how long do we expect it to take?
If I could, I did outreach to the Department of Revenue, and we can create a recreation enterprise fund and also include the golf in with it. So we can do that. It's just that we haven't taken any steps at this point. It does require us to have some votes to dissolve the current golf enterprise fund, and we'd have to create the new enterprise fund. So there would be some votes that we would need to do for that.
I guess in the interest of putting the tightest point I possibly can on it, at least from my perspective as both a member of the Finance Committee and a town meeting member, I think that's something we absolutely need to investigate. The fact that we have money that we can't use for anything else in town that can only be used for the golf course, which again is by all accounts beautiful. It's beautiful because we have money that we can spend on it, and the fact that we're only able to spend it there is why the rest of our fields are in real disrepair. So I'll leave that there. The other question I had on the OPEB and stabilization. I know that we have financial policies. I again, earlier this year, or maybe late last year, I had brought up at some point during the year trying to like reevaluate our town's financial policies and making sure that there's still actual best practices. My question is twofold. One, and maybe it's just me I need to put on the agenda, but Karen and Dory, like, are you engaged in actually considering those policies? And then two, assuming that they're still in place when we have fall town meeting, which I think is probably a fair assumption, can we just ensure that they are explicitly mentioned and explained to town meeting when we make our recommendations on things like the stabilization fund, how much money we have in reserve and free cash? Part of the, and again, fully guilty of this, but part of the problem that I think we have in town meeting is that people don't know what they don't know. And so if you don't know what the financial policy says, there's no way that you can hold us accountable to actually meeting it. So that we don't need to talk about it any further, but those are just points that I'll knock up. Go ahead, if you want.
If I could respond, I had a lengthy conversation with DOR on Friday. They will have our report with recommended financial policy changes the week after next. So we'll bring those in front of the Board of Selectmen, we'll bring them in front of Finance, we'll review them, have a discussion so that hopefully they'll be ready for town meeting, so that when we have the pre-town meeting, we can explain it there. Maybe we can put it in the warrant article book. So that's where we are with that.
And then back to OPEB. Again, not a question for tonight, but one of the things that I feel like we always bring up is just having on hand unfunded liability. What's the dollar amount? What's the percentage? And what are like the best practices as far as either DOR or other municipalities around us that are like how much of it is funded and where are we in line with those? The next questions that I have may not be for tonight, and so we don't need to get into them again, but just, you know, for November and for discussions generally. You mentioned the staffing study and also the building study. I know that we have some very old buildings in town as I look over at the school committee. And so you know, it sounds like what we're maybe doing is just asking Fall Town Meeting to fund those studies. So I guess I'll just say that seems very reasonable, and I look forward to seeing the results of those studies, assuming they get approved. And I think that's it for the Finance Committee.
Can I just speak on the turf versus grass?
Absolutely.
As someone who's coached many years. I think a big thing with the turf is kiddos can play on it all the time, right? And I'm not just talking about the kids in school. I'm not talking about students. Kids are using these fields after hours and everything. They really are town fields, even though they're at the high school. So as someone who loved getting field hockey canceled when I was a kid in town all the time because rain or snow or whatnot, the beauty of turf is that kids can play on it all the time. So we're not dealing with things like changing game schedules, pickup issues with kiddos, middle school or whatnot. They really do have that ability to always be used. And yes, the golf course is beautiful and it's great, but if you go to any of the other grass fields, they're, even with the expertise that we may have, they're maintained as well, for whatever reason. I'm sure it's a cost. I'm not 100% sure all the reasons. So yeah, it's an expense with the turf for sure. But I mean, I spend my entire spring at the baseball field at Pappas, and every other town is jealous of that field. So converting it would be a challenge in that aspect, I think, more so because of the change of not being able to use it all the time. It's snowing in October, all of those things. So just my 2 cents on that.
If I could respond to that, thank you. We not only don't have the expertise in our Parks Department to maintain the turf fields, we struggle to maintain the fields we have.
Yeah.
The expertise and the manpower, we just don't have. I've been working with Andy and other league presidents to try to help them in any way that we can, and I'll send people out to try to do fixes here and there. We just don't have that. So it goes back to what my board has talked about, and what Mike mentioned again today is talking more about the enterprise account. And we did initial outreach to DOR. We're going to continue to do that. I don't, there's a process involved in dissolving the golf course, and I still am not sure if that money can be used.
Right.
So there's just a lot of technical information that we'll be working towards, but our regular fields are not great either.
Yeah.
And unless we change what we're doing, either by an enterprise account or investing funds in parks and recreation and focusing on that, it's going to stay that way. So.
I just want to reiterate what Mrs. Stanek said regarding the fact that if this is not done, that we have a major safety issue and they will not be usable. So I think that is something we very much need to think about with all the kids in this town.
And in terms of safety, it's not just like, you know, when I was first looking into this, I was thinking about the twisted ankles and the areas that it's pull up. My bigger concern in doing my turf research, which I never thought I would do, is the bounce of a turf field. It goes down after a while. And so my bigger issue is head injuries and concussions and the bigger issues, not that a twisted ankle isn't bad, but those bigger issues that I would hate to see happen on a child, whether it be during the school day or youth soccer on a Saturday.
And through the chair, I would also like to say that we also have to remember that cost rises. So if we don't do it now and then it's not done, in a year from now or 2 years from now, the cost is going to be a lot more.
Through the chair, my comment is more actually towards the playground, so it's shifting a little bit. I do have young children. We utilize Rocketland, Pappas, Franklin Field, Franklin Street, it's kind of tucked away. And I called, even before running for this position about a year ago, to the rec department to place a complaint because Rocketland, I had noticed at soccer practices, myself and other soccer families, I mean, the amount of broken items on that playground, and same with Pappas, I had to call and place a complaint about a broken monkey bar, and thankfully DPW did go within like the next 48 hours. We checked back and it was replaced. But that's a huge issue too, in itself. I mean, myself and so many other young families, we use those playgrounds constantly, especially if we have a child in a sport through the town and then have a younger sibling. We need something to entertain them with. And I've lived in this town since I was 3. I mean, Rocketland really needs some attention. I mean, I remember when it was the wooden playground, and I think it was replaced at least over 20 years ago, if I'm not correct. So I think as important, the fields are extremely important, I agree, especially the Auburn High School turf field. I was the first class to graduate from the new Auburn High School. I remember that field. I taught my 2 kids actually how to ride their bikes on the track around that field. Again, so many people use that turf field. It definitely needs to be replaced this year. And I also hope the town considers improving the playgrounds as well, and that we can hopefully expand the recreation department in general. Thank you.
Todd, can I ask a question of school committee? Just 2 things. So I think as you try and market to get that field replaced, I would also add in the fact that scheduling wise, if the field is taken offline, you're going to have to bus students to another location for those practices and games. So there's another cost that'll be creeping up behind it. My question relative to, and again, talk about the fact that these fields are managed by summer schools, maintained by DPW. It's hard to track, but there are also fees collected. Am I correct relative to outside entities that utilize town fields that are located at the schools?
Yes.
Is that deposited somewhere? Like, where do those fees go? I guess you would envision if you were paying a fee, it would go ultimately towards the maintenance of that location that an outside entity utilize. I don't think we charge town organizations. Obviously, we don't charge schools teams, but can you just kind of cover that a little bit for me?
So school teams, we don't charge.
Right.
Town teams, we do. And that was something that we've looked at, and we don't charge as much. I'll take responsibility for that because I didn't think it was fair for our parents to have to pay and then increase the fees on kids that may not be able to afford it. But Mrs. Stanek, it just goes into.
So I could speak a little bit about that. So we do charge rental fees for various groups that use our facilities. That fee schedule, we did revisit, I guess last year, and we did try to increase it, and it was met with a lot of.
That was more of a timing thing, I think, than it was anything else.
It could be too, but even still, we're a little pushback. So the revenue that we have for the Auburn High School building rental goes into revolving accounts, and then we utilize it to pay the salaries for the site managers, the custodians. We also use it as a budget offset. So last year, we used $31,000 of the high school rental fees for heating and sewerage. So it
Thank you.
sounds like a great idea, but it doesn't make a ton of money. Certainly not enough to replace our field.
No, thank you. I didn't know it was going to be a big, I knew it wasn't going to be a big number.
Yeah.
Just for folks that are hearing that, hey, we put money in, where does that money go? It's
Right.
just, yeah.
I don't know. I think I would beg to differ with you because if you had $31,000 for an annualized amount and you had that for 3 years and it was $100,000, that's better than nothing. So I guess where I'm sitting and I look at a global economy and I look at global spending, and I'll just downsize it to Auburn, the way I sort of perceive it is we only have so much money that we can work with. So the question is how do we spend it, which is why I took the payroll example. Because payroll is such a huge chunk. But Mr. Vecchio has also mentioned that we have healthcare. Healthcare is a payroll expense. Their taxes are a payroll expense. So I just want to defend the fact that somewhere along the line, You gotta bring payroll into the equation because it's only fair because it's sucking the life out of the rest of the budget. Just an observation.
So if I can just jump in, I know Mr. Carpenter has a comment he'd like to make or a question, and then I have another question as well.
Yeah, so at the top of the meeting, Mrs. Stanek mentioned some items that you were going to repurpose. Can you just walk through what that means to the students, to the, to anybody utilizing the schools?
Sure. So in the capital improvement budget of 2022, there was money set aside for the parking lot for Bryn Mawr. That work was completed. I can't speak to how that was funded at that time, but it was completed by the DPW. So in the 2027 capital plan, there is $150,000 that was appropriated to the schools. So at this time, one of our biggest concerns is the field. And then as far as there was $60,000 from 2019 that was appropriated for Auburn High School for parking resurfacing, and we would just be repurposing a portion of that. We feel that we can still do the work that needs to be done if we take $60,000 from that. And at this time, our scoreboards are in working order. There was $40,000 in set for that. So we felt that it was prudent to move that to supporting the all-purpose field.
So the building rehab is from 2022, or is this, because we just borrowed money for rehab?
The $150,000 was approved at town meeting in 2022.
And we just borrowed money for that, or we're going to be borrowing money for that. So what was that going to be used for, I guess, is my overall point.
The $150,000, if we would like to repurpose it for the
I don't know
all-purpose
what we
field.
want to repurpose it for, but we went out and borrowed the money. So what was the intent of the 150 for the school itself? So we're talking about the high school. One of the biggest things that I recall from that time was lack of maintenance of our buildings. Before we do anything about changing fields from turf to grass, considerable time and effort was paid when that building was put up. I would recommend that any committee member who hasn't read those, that they do, because there's a reason why there are turf fields at the high school and they're not grass. One of which is it's a major floodplain, and people who were alive in 1955 could tell you about how bad that whole area was. So we don't want to necessarily go back to grass there. Pappas is literally the land of springs. And I know that when we built Pappas in 2011, 2012, all sorts of extra drainage had to be put into that site to make it usable for what it is. So I just would encourage people to look back at those meeting minutes to understand why some of these decisions were made 20, 25 years ago. But I'm just concerned that I don't want to repurpose money for building rehab if it's going to assist with the building, making it more usable, making the space more usable. I attended Bryn Mawr 1,000 years ago. It was small then. I can only imagine what it looks like now.
Hasn't gotten any bigger.
Same size. So the overall name is always the building rehab. That $150,000 was for the parking lot.
Okay.
And that project was completed by the DPW a few years back. So it's not taking money from the building maintenance.
Okay. I
And
just
the
wanted to make sure.
Yep, and the same thing for the high school. That is for parking resurfacing. It's not for building rehab, and that the facilities manager believes we have enough money still to be able to do that.
Okay.
So just a couple notes here. One, just according to our CFO, we had not borrowed that amount of money yet. Is that correct?
That's correct, 150,000, correct.
The other note is that if you want to do public comment later on in the meeting, the sign up is over by the kitchen. Just so everyone knows that. So going back to, and I know that we only have about 11 minutes left, and probably I'm going to get some eyes from staff for asking this question, but the town manager indicated that we talked a lot about capital, but for the operating side of the fiscal year 27 budget, town manager said that you're going to be looking at a possible adjustment in the amount that was set aside for health insurance. On the town side or on the school side, are there other unforeseen adjustments to the FY 27 operating budget, other than the normal transfers we normally see, that might be coming down for the special town meeting?
I would just say, excuse me.
No, you can go.
Just on the school department side is special education, out-of-district tuition and transportation is always a moving target. We can have anybody move in at any time. We had multiple residential students that moved in last year, so that is always a concern.
And once they're in town, we're responsible for that, and we really don't have any control.
But there's no expected warrant articles, other than that, those kind of sort of circumstances that might be coming in terms of adjustments for staffing or for other things that would hit the tax levy as on the operating side.
Not at this time.
Unless someone moves in.
Okay. On the town side?
Through the chair, not anything outside what I've already disclosed tonight, but it's still early.
So I guess at this point, we got 9 minutes left. If there's any additional questions or comments, we'll run down. Ms. Ruffley,
Good, thank you.
Mr. Carpenter?
No, I'm good.
I'm good at this time. Move over to finance.
Anyone want a second bite of the apple? I think we're good.
Anyone from school committee have anything?
I just have something quick. I would feel remiss if I didn't at least introduce myself at the meeting. I thought I might be able to contribute, but our chair and our finance director and our school committee members have done a great job. So I just wanted to introduce myself as the new superintendent of the Auburn Public Schools. Very proud to be here. I'm learning a lot about building operations, about staffing, about town matters. And I appreciated something that I heard, I believe it was coming from you, around like a collective effort here and routine communication around town matters as they apply to school matters, as they apply to the community, as they apply to important decisions around finance. So that's how I operate. I've already been in communication with Ms. Vecchio, and I'm finding that there's a really nice collaborative nature in this community. So I'm really looking forward to being here, and tonight is just another example of that. So thank you.
Welcome to your new job.
Thank you.
We do appreciate all the support of the town for the schools. They've done a great job. And I will say it wasn't in the 1950s that that area flooded. It was 2000 when I was there, it was flooding too.
Okay, so with that, I would just say that, I hope this is one of what becomes several meetings that the three boards have together on sort of working sessions regarding budgets, future planning, capital improvements. I know that we are already planning one for November. I think it's November 16th. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Please mark that on your calendar. But I would like to see sort of this, operating, if it's not the full boards, then maybe a working group that's created with different members of each committee that just sort of keeps in touch and keeps the lines of communication open on even a quarterly basis. But I think that's something that the chairs should discuss going forward. With that, unless there's anything else that either committee has, you can end your meetings, close your meetings, and
Entertain a motion to adjourn for the finance committee.
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion, Adrian.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I ask from my board a motion for a 6-minute break?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none? We are adjourned for a break. Okay, thank you. I'm going to call the meeting back to order. The next item on our agenda is item number 8, public comment period. We had a sign-up sheet. The first one up is Alan Rafferty. I would just ask that you provide your name and the town in which you live in. I don't think we need to know your street address. And just keep in mind, I'm not going to put on any strict time. Just keep it within reason and address issues that are within the purview of the select board in general. And just a reminder to everybody that with respect to the open meeting law, the board is not able to discuss or deliberate on any issues brought forward tonight. If a member wants to have a discussion, they will put it on a future agenda, as well as if there are issues that are sort of under the town purview, staff purview, staff may follow up with that. So, Mr. Rafferty, over to you.
Mr. Chairman, someone just entered that I believe may be interested in public comment.
Yeah, we are sending the list back over there.
Thank you. Alan Rafferty. I live in Auburn. Good afternoon. The last time I was here, you neglected to turn on the microphone for public comment. So I have to ask, is this thing on tonight? For the record, ACTV said, cut the crap. The hilarious thing is that a meeting I tried to report how a committee meeting was illegally broadcasting a committee's comments by having the microphone on, and for some reason, you did not turn on my microphone so I could report it. This deprived the public from knowing what I had heard said at that meeting. Then the video was removed from its posting on YouTube. When I asked for a copy of it, I was denied getting it. I recently filed some Massachusetts open meeting complaints against two committees. I did so because it became clear that they were violating Massachusetts state law and therefore were avoiding being transparent to the public. The record of Auburn Town committees being open and honest is, in a word, deplorable. The response to being caught red-handed is even worse. Steve Consiglio of the Finance Committee, who is the thinker among his peers, made the most astute observation. He said, just have the committee reply to the complainant without having town council do all the work. What he probably means is that you should not have to lawyer up and pay legal fees to do what they could do themselves. He got that right. He also said that the open meeting complaint violation is like getting a parking ticket. I would be more exact. It's like getting a warning for speeding, because the next time you do it, you increase your chances of getting a $1,000 fine. And that's a little more expensive than a parking ticket. However, Auburn's committees prefer to have lawyers do the work for them. Those costs can approach being as much as the $1,000 fine. Not a good decision if you care about the taxpayers of the town. For my part, I fight for government that is honest with its residents. In light of all the budgetary shenanigans that are being discovered, Auburn government disagrees with me. It has become clear to me that the constant open meeting law violations, despite the training that committee members are required to take, the plethora of refusals of document requests, the potential conflicts of interests I have observed, Auburn appears to have the transparency of a black hole, where even light cannot escape its dark grasp. Previously, I complained to this board that our town moderator violated the rules of town meeting time and asked you to go on the record denouncing those violations. Instead, you decided to send it to town council, as is the pattern of Auburn town government. The lawyer did review it and concluded that indeed a violation took place by Miss Goodrich, but stated there was nothing that could be done at that point, except that I asked you in a letter to the town manager if you agreed with that conclusion and would go on the record saying so. I did not hear from any of you, so you agreed that nothing could be done, not even publicly condemning her illegal acts. For that, you become complicit in her actions and should be held politically accountable for it. Thank you for your time. Have a nice night.
Thank you, Mr. Rafferty. I believe next on the list was Mr. Richards. And again, just a reminder, if you can just state your name and town you live in. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Eric Richards. I'm going to make my comments quite short tonight. In doing some research for a warrant article, I ran across some interesting information. It would appear that the town of Auburn has not adopted the Chapter 41, subsection 100B, 111F, M, and N subsections of the first responder violent injury bills, which I found extremely interesting. I'm not saying it hasn't been done, but I was unable to find it. And it was especially confusing with the speed at which you moved to adopt the 40B in the MBTA Communities Act. I would think that the first responders would be very happy to find that they were protected because the town adopted the relevant covenants. My request is that the board and the town investigate and confirm whether we have or have not adopted those particular acts, and that if we have not, that you do so for the fall town meeting, so that instead of plaques and pictures, their families in their darkest hour and them will be protected, and they will at least have some benefits that they will need. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list is Mr. Lozon. Just a reminder, please state your name and your town you live in for the record. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is John Lozon. I reside at Main Street, Auburn. I was here a few months ago. I'm recovering from a spinal injury. I had 2 titanium rods put in my back, so I haven't been able to be up here as many times as I'd like to. But my last visit, I was shut down for my potty mouth. Unfortunately, Ms. Kavanaugh is not here tonight. I like to direct my comments as in, parliamentary process, Robert's rules through the chair to say things to other people. So I'm gonna take it easy on what I was gonna say to her because she's not here, and I gotta be careful, So I went to speak, and several times I had to turn and say, I'll wait. And there were several members of law enforcement just talking. And it went on, and she never shut them down. It was like 6 or 7 times. And my opinion is, if someone from law enforcement was up here speaking, and I did that 6 or 7 times, she may have spoke up. It's just my opinion. Nobody can really speak for the 33 Revolutionary War soldiers that are right up the road over here. But I will a little bit, and I might be slightly sarcastic with my comments. My grandma and James Madison hated potty mouth. They really did. I might say some unpopular things, only because we must protect all speech. Because someday some resident who got something really important to say, not me, but someone really important to say is going to come up here, and they're not going to be able to say it. Nobody's going to hear him because some tyrant up there isn't going to let him speak. So when you get shut down for saying a word that you learned in the 2nd grade and the whole class laughed because it's another word for donkey, come on. I went easy on her. I was a little sarcastic that night and this and that, but I want you to know that's where all this is coming from. I'm going to save this one. I just can't say that, but it's hilarious. I'll tell them. I'm here to discuss transparency, accountability in local government concerning Veterans Affairs, planning of the 4th of July events, concerning 33 Revolutionary soldiers buried next door. A verbal reminder to remember these soldiers, even if it's the next 3 minutes. I told the board about the 33 soldiers months in advance. Fortunately, out of justified mistrust of the government, we put an unofficial Veterans Advisory Council together, compiled of long-term resident veterans of Auburn, to go up there and do what the town didn't do. We knew the town wasn't going to do it, so we went on July 3rd. On the Friday at 3 o'clock, the town all closed at 1 or whatever. So we knew, and we went up there, and a lot of residents were there, and it was recorded, and it was really done well. We had taps, we had the wreath laying, we said a bunch of special stuff. We said all the stuff that the town should have said. That being said, these guys are overworked. We got our town VSO and we got our town planner. They're swamped. They're really good people and they need our help. So an unofficial Veterans Advisory Council like this is only going to help bridge the gap between the citizens and our trusted public servants. A lot of guys around here do volunteer work, and volunteer means they don't get paid anything. You know, they just show up and do it. Let's see here. I'm not going to get into that right now. You got some real slackness going in there. I'm going to save that for private. You got some people in here. You know, they're video recorded. It's embarrassing stuff. We can talk about some other time if you'd like. You know. Let's see here. I tried to switch over to VSOs from a DAV representative since January with our VSO in Auburn. I've gotten 2 letters, one in March and one in April, saying that he still ain't switched over. He said it would take 2 weeks, but it's been over 2 months. So I sought help from another VSO. It took less than 10 minutes to switch over. Let's see here. He's a great guy. I mean, he's very humble. He's an altruistic man who, in my opinion, lacks nothing but ego. And an adequate amount of help to achieve his goals is giving our vets an ability to present, prosecute evidence correctly and efficiently. His humility became evident to me as he never bragged or boasted that he is in Southbridge, where he is president of the Veterans Council. He also never mentioned that he is a politician. He's a Southbridge town councilor, and also he did tell me that he was the VSO in Oxford. But humility, humble man, that's great. I love it. That's what we need. Despite it being common knowledge when you're from Auburn, you know every town employee who works here got their job because they know someone or they're related to someone. I believe our VSO and our town planner have nothing to do with that sort of thing. They earn everything on their own merits. I stopped in the other week to speak with both of them concerning the celebration of our 250 years of Independence Day and the Revolutionary War heroes. I had spoke here several times. Because this has been ignored, history has been repeating itself. In the spirit of transparency and accountability, I would like to request a quick 10-minute meeting with VSO David and Town Planner Kristen. Of course, I would like a recorded meeting to ensure transparency and accountability of what our taxpaying citizens deserve. And, you know, and that shouldn't be a problem. If it is a problem, then it's a problem. Transparency and accountability. Transparency, let's see what's going on, be accountable for it. You're doing a good job, let's up you and have more of you, okay? You're doing a shitty job, down with you. Let's see, even our town manager's done an excellent job of offering our citizens a chance to sit down and meet with her one-on-one. Let's see, yes. Okay, I'm almost done. We did that over there at the cemetery so people never forget what they literally, physically fought and died for, so Americans could keep free. Many residents of Auburn of all ages attended. It was recorded by several citizens. I think a meeting can certainly help close the gap between the trusted servants and the residents of Auburn they took oath to serve. On a lighter note, I recently read that pedophile former police officer just received probation for his, we'll call them sex crimes, you know? And it's too bad, because that guy only had to do one thing to keep his job, not fuck our kids. Thank you, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Lozon. That ends the public comment period. The next item on the agenda is presentations and public hearings. Public hearing, board vote on change of officers for AMF Bowling Centers, Inc., DBA Bolero Auburn, located at 101 Southbridge Street, Auburn, Mass. 01501. Can I hear a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Having been moved and seconded, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, none. It passes 3-0. The public hearing is open. Is there a representative on the line? Okay.
Yes.
Did you want to just give us briefly what an update on the change?
Absolutely. My name is Tyler Hentler. I'm an attorney out of Boston, here on behalf of Bolero, or AMF Bowling Centers Incorporated, located at 101 South Bridge Street. Here for a change of officers. It's a corporate headquarters level change. Nothing's changing at the Auburn location. One Brett Parker is being removed as Vice President, Secretary, and Treasurer of the licensee, and Robert Levon is being added as CFO, Secretary, and Treasurer of the licensee. And also existing officer Thomas Shannon is having his titles changed to CEO and Director. Again, this is for record-keeping purposes, so that the town and the ABCC have updated records of the officers and directors of the licensee. Nothing is changing at the Auburn location or any aspect of their operations. But with that, happy to take any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public, this being a public hearing, that would like to offer comments? Seeing none, are there any questions or comments by the members?
No.
Hearing none, I would just note for the record that the application was reviewed by the Auburn Police Department, who reported no issues. With that, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
Have been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, none. Passes 3-0. I'll now entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the change of officers for AMF Bowling Centers, Inc., doing business as Bolero Auburn, located at 101 Southbridge Street, Auburn, Mass. 01501.
Second?
Second.
Have been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none. Passes 3-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next public hearing, vote on carnival/amusement park license for Cirque Entertainment 4 LLC, deemed DBA Cirque Entertainment for a carnival located at 385 Southbridge Street, Auburn, Mass. 01501 on July 24th to July 27th, 2026. Can I hear a motion to open a public hearing?
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
And a second?
Second.
Have been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Passes 3-0. At this time, I know we have a representative online. If you just want to introduce yourself and provide any basic information you'd like the board to have.
Sure. My name is Mark Landon with Cirque Entertainment, also known as Paranormal Cirque. And I would like to correct one thing that was said. This is not a carnival. It is, in fact, a circus. Difference being carnivals has games and rides, which this does not have. This is a tented performance show. So coming to Auburn Mall, July 24th through 27th. We play all over the country, other places within the state. And we're happy to be coming to Auburn Mall, and I'll be happy to entertain any questions you might have.
Thank you. This being a public hearing, are there any questions from the public? Seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the board members? Seeing none, I just have one question, Mr. Landon. I know on the files we have, there's an age restriction of, I believe, 13 or over. If you just want to sort of clarify the reasoning for that.
Okay, so I'd be happy to clarify. There actually is no age restriction. The show is recommended for those 16 and older. It claims to have more adult content, frankly, than it really has. But there's nothing lewd, no nudity, no bad language. It's basically just kind of a Halloween-themed kind of circus performance. Those under 13 through 16 are required to come with an adult, and those under 13 are in fact admitted as long as they have a signed waiver and attend with a parent or legal guardian.
Great, thank you for that clarification. I would just like to note for the record that I've attended your circus in other locations and have enjoyed it, and I'm happy that my commute to see this show will be a lot shorter this year. With that, I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Have been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has been, the public hearing has been closed. I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Carnival Amusement Park license application for Cirque Entertainment 4 LLC, DBA Cirque Entertainment for a carnival located at 385 Southbridge Street, Auburn, Mass. 01501 on July 24th through the 27th, 2026, provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments and boards and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all the conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void with the conditions of the DCG to be placed upon the license.
Have been moved to second?
Second.
Have been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Passes 3-0. The next item is board vote on outdoor entertainment license for Cirque Entertainment 4 LLC, DBA Paranormal Cirque, for an event located at 385 Southbridge Street, Auburn, Mass. 01501 on July 24th to the 27th, 2026. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Public hearing is open. Once again, any questions or comments from the board? Any members of the public like to ask any comments or questions? None. Mr. Landon, if you have anything extra to add, feel free. Otherwise, we're good to close the public hearing.
No, I'm just available for any questions.
Great, thank you. I'll make a motion, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Having been moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. The hearing is now closed, and I will entertain a motion for the license.
I'll make a motion to approve the outdoor entertainment license application for Cirque Entertainment 4 LLC, DBA Paranormal Cirque for an event located at 385 Southbridge Street, Auburn, Massachusetts. 01501 on July 4th through the 27th, 2026, provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to the conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all of the conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void with the conditions of the DCG to be placed upon the license.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Have been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Passes 3-0. Thank you, Mr. Landon. Have a good night. Next item, department items. Town clerk, board signing of the warrant for the September 1st, 2026 primary election. We do have our town clerk, Ginger Buteau, here in attendance.
Good evening.
Good evening. If you just want to give us a brief information about this.
So it's just the warrant that the state had issued for the September 1st state primary election. I need it signed by the board so I can get it posted.
Does this require a vote or just our signatures?
Nope, just signatures.
Okay. Do we have that to sign?
I hope, because I gave it to Danielle. Okay. 2 weeks ago. We'll get it. Okay. If I need another one, just let me know. I can print it off.
I have copies in my binder if you want to, if
Can we
these are
sign a
okay
copy?
enough. Are these okay?
No, it's got to,
Okay.
it has, yeah, it's got to be an original on watermark paper. So
Okay.
yeah, I can do that tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, you're welcome.
So members, please go into the town manager's office and sign that. Okay, next item is Police Department Board vote to file a COPS hiring program, CHP grant for $375,000. Chief?
Thank you. Good evening. Through the chair. Sorry for the somewhat short notice, but the original notice of the funding opportunity wasn't posted on any of the websites until June 9th. And then they scheduled an informational webinar, and that wasn't until July 7th. And with there only being one meeting between that date and the deadline, that's why we're here tonight for that purpose. So we've applied for this grant in the past. It's the Community-Oriented Policing Services, or the COPS office, through the Department of Justice. And it's a hiring program. It's changed how it's structured currently versus how it was in years past. So in essence, at this time, they pay $125,000 per officer that is hired over the 3-year period. In years past, it had a completely different pay configuration, but that's the way it's currently structured. we thought after, going through the webinar and discussing things internally and getting straightened out on all the federal websites, because there's multiple layers of federal websites that you have to be active on and be vetted on, essentially, in order to even begin the application process. We thought we would be most competitive with 3 police officers. And again, there's no guarantee it's a competitive grant process, and there's no guarantee, excuse me, that we would receive funding, but we felt that it was at least important to ask permission to try because, with the looming, I guess for lack of a better word, the transition to the regional dispatch, we do know that we're going to need to hire additional police officers to account for that change, and we thought that this was essentially the most prudent way, at least, to make an attempt to offset some of those costs. And obviously, there are associated costs with that, and then the retention costs going forward, because within the 3rd year, or prior to the end of the 3rd year, the town does assume the majority of the responsibility for, and then in year 4, obviously, the entire responsibility for those positions.
Thank you, Chief. Do members have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just have a quick, so it pays for 75% of each officer for the first 3 years. Is there available budget funding for the additional 25%? I know you just said that with the regional dispatch center, that you were going to be hiring anyway, so I assume that answer is yes. I just want a confirmation.
So as of right now, there's no funding that we've set aside for FY27. We didn't budget for that because this was an unforeseen during that process. We had no idea that this opportunity was even going to come up. I know that the awards, they're anticipating the awards would be in line with the federal fiscal year. So I believe around the end of September, beginning of October, essentially.
Okay.
I think we would be able probably to defer that till we got into FY28 rather.
Okay.
But I would need to, obviously confirm that. And, when I had spoken to the manager and Danielle previously, she asked about how to word the motion. I said, well, it's a distinct 2-step process. We want, obviously, permission to apply. And then if we're successful, in the process, then we would come back and decide, the board could decide whether or not to accept that. And it's, that's the second option. So.
Thank you.
Mr. Carpenter, any questions or comments?
I spoke with them before.
Okay. I just have a couple comments and questions. So thank you for clarifying this vote is to authorize us to apply. And if we are favorable, then at that time, the board will get a second bite at the apple, so to speak, to vote to accept and expend the money. Just a couple comments, I guess, for when we come back. Hopefully, knock on wood, we are successful. But when we come back for that second vote, I think that at that time, to Ms. Ruffley's point, I think we need to understand the financial impact to the budget with respect to adding these officers in the short term. Well, we have that 75%, but also in the long term. I think the other thing is that anytime you add additional police officers, especially with the three police officers, there's typically an add-on of a supervisor position. I know that in the past, the staffing report that we got was never put on the agenda to discuss, but we all read it. It discussed possibly creating another sector within the town to better patrol and sort of divide the work amongst the police officers, and that may have that ramification of an additional supervisor at that time. So I just think we need a larger discussion at that time with respect to the staffing report, the staffing needs of the police department and financial impacts. Because, I have a deep respect for the work that the police department does. And I think we need a discussion on that staffing report, but we're going into pretty tight, fiscal times. I know that we are counting on the financial, I don't want to say windfall, but financial benefits of going to a regional dispatch where we will be first not having to contribute for a series of years because the state is going to pay for that. And then after that, we'll have a lower amount of dispatch costs in our operating budget compared to now. But my fear is that there are several departments that have looked at that money and have probably spent it 10 times over in the back of their head, where it does have to come, and we do need a conversation with ourselves, finance committee, et cetera, on how we are addressing those savings and reallocating that money. And of course, in the back of their mind, at least when I took that vote, was potentially a not having to go to 2.5%, that we could give some relief to the taxpayers knowing our current economic situation. So I think we just need a larger conversation at that time, not tonight. The other thing that I have a question about is, and it was in your packet, and I read the NOFO as well, is that there's one of the terms of the new COPS, of the COPS grant that they've added, that is, and I will just read it into the record, is that one of the terms and conditions, and in the NOFO, they specifically said, regardless of any language the local municipality puts into their, to their application, there's no waiving this condition. And that is that state and local government entities must comply with 8 USC subsection 1373, which provides that state and local government entities may not prohibit or in any way restrict any government entity or official from sending to, receiving from, maintaining, or exchanging information regarding citizenship or immigration status, lawful or unlawful, of any individual with components of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security or any other federal, state, or local government entity. This includes any prohibitions or restrictions imposed or established by a state or local government entity or official. I know that Massachusetts has a law that specifically does not allow local law enforcement, even state law enforcement, to work with immigration enforcement when it comes to, I believe, civil retainers, et cetera. So I think that, again, assuming we are, we received the grant at that time, I think we're going to need an opinion whether our application and accepting of the money can take place given that overarching state law. Because we have, in that case, a condition of that money saying we have to comply with USC subsection 1373, whereas we have a state law that says we cannot comply with 8 USC subsection 1373. So it adds sort of a new layer of that we didn't face with previous COPS grants. So I just want that noted for the record so that when we come back and have this discussion, we are likely going to have an opinion. And I'll be quite honest with you, at least for me when I'm looking at this, not necessarily an opinion from town council, but actually an opinion from the AG's office on that aspect of that law. With that, is there any other questions or comments?
Nope.
With that, I will entertain a motion to authorize the Auburn Police Department to apply for a COPS hiring program grant for $375,000.
So moved.
And seconded?
Second.
Have been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Passes 3-0. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, DPW Board vote to accept FEMA HMGP 4651-13 grant for $125,686.67 with a local match of $41,895.56. We have
Good evening.
DPW Director here.
Good evening. Yes, this grant is related to our sewer division. This will cover the replacement of the generator at the Pinrock Road pump station. I believe we applied for this grant somewhere in 2021, and it's been evaluated by MEMA over the past few years for several different rounds of the funding, and we just got notice that we were awarded that grant.
Okay. Does the board have any questions or comments?
Just Yes, where is the 42,000 coming from?
It would be from the sewer retained earnings.
Does that have to be appropriated to the town meeting, or can that be done internally?
So we do have some CIP funding that we can use towards it.
What kind of funding, I'm sorry?
CIP,
CMP?
through those, yeah, through the sewer retained earnings.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
I just want to thank you for sticking with this grant. I was going to ask when we applied for it because I tried to find information for it and it seemed like the last round was in 2023, I think. So I was surprised to see that they're granting money so late. With that, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept the FEMA HMGP 465113 grant for $125,686.67 with the local match of $41,895.56.
Is there a second? Have it moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. Passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you are staying right there. So next item on the agenda is DPW, update on roadway improvements.
Yes, thank you. So we have our current project ongoing. They are going to be starting on South Street. Tomorrow, they're going to be pulverizing. So it's a moving operation, so parts of the street are not going to be open to through traffic. But we always make sure that residents can get to their driveways. So that is starting tomorrow. And then they'll be moving on to Lancaster and Church Street after that. After that, they'll be paving those roads. Auburn Street is scheduled for milling at the end of the month on 31st. So you'll be seeing some progress there as well. In addition to the roadways that we already have presented, we have some additional roadways that we're going to be putting out to bid. Bancroft Street, Leicester Street, and South Street are going to be resurfaced, and that bid opening is scheduled for August 13th. In addition to the so we separated out another Warren Road and Bryn Mawr Ave. It's a separate project because it's tied into the sidewalk construction along Bryn Mawr Ave. So that bid opening is scheduled for August 12th. And we're stipulating in the contract that substantial completion is going to be done by mid-November.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
No.
I just have one question about the famous railroad crossing. I know South Street affects the timing of that.
Mm-hmm.
When can we hope to see?
So the last I heard, the railroad crossing is scheduled for August 19th and 20th. So they're working with the state to secure their permits for the detour. But that's the date that I got, that I was given by the railroad company at the latest, last week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So I just have you took my question from me, Mr. Carpenter. I just one follow-up to that is that, so I just want to be clear because I know that the railroad has been moving that target date. The delay has not been the town, it's been them securing their licenses from Mass DOT.
So we've been working with the detour, and then they're also working with the state on the detour, so.
Great. I just want to confirm that for the record, the town is not holding up the railroad from finally fixing that crossing. The other thing I just want to note is that, not a question, just a comment. I'm happy to see that between the additional funding from the state with the Chapter 90 changes, as well as the funding the town has put dedicated towards this, that just for note, we are now paving 4.9 miles of roads, which gets us closer to that long ago 20-year plan. And I think this is the first time we've been able to accomplish that since, at least when I went back into the records, 2019. So I want to, thank you for putting this together, for getting these extra contracts out, and for listening to town meeting when they said this was important, and acting on it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I ask you a question?
No, not at this time. You can speak at the public comment towards the end. With that, this was just an update. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is 12A, information communication from EOHLC, Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, stating that the town is in full compliance with the MBTA Communities Act as voted by town meeting on October 28, 2025. We are actually waiting for Assistant Town Manager / Director of Economic Development, Paul Delaquila for this. So can I ask for a motion to move up item 12B?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. So item 12B, information communication from Town Clerk's Office about dates and times of the special primary.
Hello again. So I just wanted to let you all know that we have early voting starting on Saturday, August 22nd. We'll be open from 9 to 5 on Saturday. And then early voting will continue for the following week, Monday through Friday during regular business hours. We'll be holding the early voting in the old planning board room, conference room 1 during those times. Okay. Also, August 22nd is the last day to register to vote or do any changes to your registration.
Does the board have any questions or comments? No?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Can I ask for a motion to move up the entirety of items number, actually 13, A, B, C, and D? We'll see if that gets them.
Make a motion that we move to all the items
Walk in.
under.
Oh,
you
never
wanna
mind.
hold?
Scratch
Saved
that.
by the door.
Yeah.
Saved by the bell. We are going to go back to item 12A. Informational communication from EOHLC, Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, stating that the town is in full compliance with the MBTA Communities Act as voted by town meeting on October 28, 2025. We have with us tonight Assistant Town Manager / Director of Economic Development, Paul Delaquila, to be in attendance to provide an update to the board on this issue. Thank you for joining us.
Just in the nick of time, Mr. Chair. Anyway, so I hope you were able to review the memo that was included in your packets. As you know, last year, a number of changes were made to the zoning bylaw pursuant to achieving compliance with the MBTA Communities Act. We are adjacent to Worcester, so that gave us certain requirements we had to meet as Worcester has the commuter rail station at Union Station. So it went through fall town meeting last year. That was all formulated before I was really in the mix with that. However, it passed, and it went through somewhat of a lengthy Attorney General review process. And so in early June, we got feedback from the AGO that the bylaw was approved. So then we were able to contact the state EOHLC to see if we had achieved compliance. I'll note that the changes that were made were pursuant to feedback given to the previous town planner by EOHLC. So presumably, if we enacted what they asked us to do, we would become compliant, and indeed, that's what happened. So we are now compliant with the MBTA Communities bylaw. There are certain we now can apply for certain grants to promote housing development in those areas that were outlined, which is, and again, there's a graphic included in your packets that shows kind of the large central residential area of Auburn, more or less between the Pike and 20 and 290, 395 is kind of the target zone for eligible projects for any future funding. So it's just another tool in our kit where we've complied with the state mandate, so to speak, and hopefully we can use this as a tool to, again, attract and entice the kind of development, in this case residential development, that we want. And I'm happy to try to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Board members have any questions or comments?
No.
Ms. Carpenter?
I do, but I'm going to refrain because
Okay, I will just say for the record that I want to thank past staff, current staff, and as well as town meeting for working on this over the years and finally reaching the point where we are fully compliant. This actually, I believe it started dating back to when I was on town meeting before sitting on this board. That's how long the town has been working towards this. So, thank you to everybody who's been working on that. And now that we are fully compliant, we can start moving forward with that. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I believe this is the, can I just ask the town clerk, that it is not water marked, or just to confirm that that is the form that we need to sign before we go signing it. With that, I will move on to select board general items. There is no proclamation or recognitions.
Mr. Chair, it seems that the town clerk is here, and I believe 13H would impact her office. Can I make a motion that we move up item 13H so she can head home once we...
Absolutely. Motion has been made. Do there a second?
Yes, second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Okay, so we are on 13H, board vote to reappoint election workers to one-year terms starting September 1st, 2026 and expiring August 31st, 2027.
Should actually be a little earlier than that because they're supposed to be going to some training.
So when we make the motion, you'll make the date appropriate. Which date would you like?
Can we do August 1st?
August 1st, okay. So just keep that in mind when you make the motion. Is there anything you'd like to update?
So these election workers that I gave you, I believe there's 34 of them on your list. These are all past election workers that we've had for a couple of years now. I've reached out to all of my election workers to see who's interested. They're all interested, at least these 34 are. They are all signed up to come to a mandated state training next month. So I will be putting something out there looking for some more as a buffer.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we vote to reappoint election workers to one-year terms starting on August 1st, 2026 and expiring on August 31st, 2027, based on the list supplied through the town clerk's office.
Motion been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Have been motion made and second. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. 3-0. Thank you. Passes.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I believe we do have that signed for you. We are going back to the regular agenda, item 13B, gift acceptances in according with MGL, Chapter 44, subsection 53A. Item number 1 is acceptance of $1,200 from Polar Beverages to the DPW for summer concerts in the park.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we accept with gratitude and that a letter be prepared for the chair's signature to Polar Beverages for their donation of $1,200 for the summer concert series.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Have been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Next item is a $2,500 donation from Bank Hometown to the DPW for Independence Day celebration.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we accept the gift of $2,500 from Bank Hometown to the DPW Recreation and Culture Department for the Independence Day celebration, and that a letter of gratitude to be drafted and signed by the chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Have been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Passes 3-0. Next issue, board vote on drain layer license from CIF Excavation, Inc., located at 9 Goldsmith Street, Littleton, Mass. 01460. Is there anyone here to speak to that? No. Okay. I will just note that the applicants are not required to be present. They did go through the DCG and have been vetted by DPW. Is there a motion?
You want me to take it? You've taken...
I'll tell you. I don't mind. I'll make a motion to approve the drain layers license for We Construction Group, Inc., located at 107 Main Street, North Reading, Massachusetts, 01864, provided that all applicable requirements of the state, town, and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all of the conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void. Oh, did I do this wrong one? I totally did, didn't I?
I wasn't listening, I'm sorry.
I did We Construction Group.
Yeah, no.
We'll go back to the first one.
Okay, you got to go back because we haven't started that agenda, right?
Okay. I will make a motion to approve the drain layers license for CJF Excavation, Inc., located at 9 Goldsmith Street, Littleton, Mass. at 01460, provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all of the conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void.
Is there a second? Having been made and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Is there a motion to move an item up?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I note that there's representatives from the Century Sportsman Club. Could we move up item 13F?
Have been moved?
A second.
Seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, none. 3-0. We are now on item 13F, board vote on one-day beer and wine license for Century Sportsman's Club located at 531 Rochdale Street, Auburn, Mass. 01501 for an event on September 6, 2026. Any other representatives here?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Matthew Benoit, member of the Century Club, Auburn resident, here with Frank Height, also the treasurer of the Sportsman Club. This is for a one-day beer and wine license. We obviously already have our licenses for the facility. This is for an outdoor event to take place down at the beach. This is like a family fun day. It's to give back to our members and their families. This should be a pretty exciting event with games, prizes, and all sorts of wonderful things.
Does the board have any questions or comments?
So this is just restricted to members only and their family, obviously.
Members and invited guests, yes.
No other questions or comments? Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the one-day beer and wine license for Century Sportsman's Club located at 531 Rochdale Street, Auburn, Massachusetts, 01501 for an event on September 6, 2026, provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to the conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void with the conditions of the DCG to be placed upon the license.
Issue has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Have been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, 0, none. Passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good night.
John.
Awesome, thanks.
Going back to the regular agenda, 13D, board vote on drain layer license for We Construction Group, Inc., located at 170 Main Street, North Reading, Mass. 01864. I would just note that the drain layer license applicants are not required to be present. They did go through the DCG, and they have been vetted by DPW. Are there any questions or comments? No? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the drain layers license for We Construction Group, Inc., located at 170 Main Street, North Reading, Mass. 01864, provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all of the conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void.
Is there a second?
Second.
Have been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 0, none. Item passes 3-0. Item number 13E, board vote on drain layer license from Duke Scapes, located at 33 Douglas Road, Webster, Mass. 01570. I would just note that the drain layer license applicants are not required to be present, and they did go through the DCG, and they were vetted by DPW. Does the board have any questions or comments?
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the drain layers license for Duke Scapes located at 33 Douglas Road, Webster, Massachusetts, 01570, provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all the conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void.
Is there a second?
Second.
Have been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Item passes 3-0. Next item on the agenda is 13F, board vote on one-day, actually, we already did that one. 13G, board vote on change of ownership for 746 Southbridge Street, Auburn, Mass. 01501. And we're missing a 5 in our agenda. From Team Car Care East LLC, Jiffy Lube number 884, to National Retail Properties LP, NKA, NNN REIT LP. That is a mouthful. The town clerk is here in attendance in case there are any questions or comments. Is there any questions or comments from the board?
My only question is, going forward, can we put these together if staff is here for certain items so that we don't keep them? I missed this one because I would have pulled this forward. This is just changing something on the license. There's no change to the operation.
No, it's literally for the gas registration, and the property owner changed. So in order for us to change the name on the gas registration, we need your vote.
Okay. Seeing no other questions or comments, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve a change of ownership for 746 Southbridge Street, Auburn, Mass. 01501, missing the 5 again, from Teams Car Care East LLC, Jiffy Lube, number 884, to 105 Decker Court, Suite 900, Irving, Texas, 75062, to National Retail Properties, LP, KNA, NNN Wright LP at 405 South Orange Avenue, Suite 900, Orlando, Florida, 32801.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Have been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Item passes 3-0. Now you
you.
can go home. Thank you. Okay, next is item 13I, Town Manager Evaluation. So for this, I think the best way to proceed is that we have all submitted our individual scoring sheets. Those have been provided to the town manager. Myself and Chair Kavanaugh met with the town manager to review all of the sheets and the scoring. In the board packet is the scoring by question, as well as the individual evaluations by each member. With that, generally, what we provide is an opportunity for the board, each board member, to say anything they want to say with respect to the evaluation. Their own evaluation. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to, but I will go down the line and give each member the opportunity. Ms. Ruffley?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Carpenter?
I will just express my gratitude to the town manager and staff for all the hard work that this represents for the year. It's been an up and down year, it's been a challenging year, and you're still here. So I thank you, and I hope for a easier second year and even more stuff for us to bug you about so that we can get things moving as we talked about tonight. So thank you.
So I will just say that, you have my scoring, you have my individual scoring and comments and questions. I tried to provide as many comments as I can to let you know where my scoring was coming from. I want to thank you for the amount of work that you have put in over the past year. I think that having you as the town manager, we heard tonight from a resident who said that, you are always open door to meet with them and to help them work through their challenges, and I've seen that personally. I know that every time I bring an issue to you, you are responsive, and you ensure that your staff is responsive, and I thank you for that. I think it's important that being a public servant myself, we all understand that ultimately we are here to serve the public. And that is something that I think that you have brought to the table, and you continue to emphasize in your staff. I know that this year has been extremely challenging with coming on board, new staff, staff turnover, but you have met every challenge that we've thrown at you, and really exceeded, I think, everyone's expectations. There's always room to grow, and always room for the administration to grow. And I just want to, thank you for the work you've done, and thank you in advance for the work you're going to be doing over the next year, as I and other members and the public bring issues for you to tackle, as well as the normal day-to-day operations and planning and running of the town that we have. I don't know if there's anything you'd like to say.
Sure. First of all, I'd like to thank the Board of Selectmen for placing your confidence in me to serve as your town manager for the town of Auburn. I'm humbled and I'm honored. I look forward to another successful year serving the town of Auburn and all the requests and meetings and everything else. But more importantly, I want to thank you for your guidance, your support, and your constructive feedback throughout the year through this process and also in our individual meetings. it's important to recognize that every accomplishment that I've highlighted in my my self-evaluation, which I'll also put online, was achieved through collaboration. Each success involved one or more department head, assistant department heads, and many dedicated town employees. My success is truly a reflection of their hard work and commitment. Over the past year, our employees had to adapt to a new town manager, embrace new priorities, and accepted increased accountability and came to work every day committed to serve this community. They're not perfect, none of us are, but each person brings unique strengths that continue to move Auburn forward. I'd like to recognize my executive management team, Paul Delaquila, Assistant Town Manager and Economic Development Director, Steve Coleman, Assistant Town Manager and Fire Chief, he's not able to be here today, Darlene Coyle, Director of DDIS, Joanna Paquin, Director of Public Works, Mike Marino, Director of Information Technology, Police Chief Scott Mills, and Karen Hanois, Chief Financial Officer. Thank you for your leadership, your honesty, and your willingness to challenge ideas and your unwavering commitment to serving Auburn. I'm fortunate to work alongside such a talented and dedicated group of professionals. To my office staff, Danielle, Sharon, Sue, Caitlin, thank you for your patience, flexibility, and hard work throughout the year. We spent the year learning each other's strengths and improving our processes and building a stronger team. Thank you. I would also like to thank the residents of Auburn. Thank you for placing your trust in the elected members of the Board of Selectmen, who in turn entrusted me with the responsibility of serving as your town manager. I never take that responsibility for granted. Thank you for your volunteerism, your civic engagement, and your commitment to making this community a wonderful place to live, work, and raise a family. Your support, your ideas, and your willingness to get involved make Auburn stronger every day. Serving as your town manager is both an honor and a privilege. I'm proud of what we've accomplished together during the past year, and I'm even more excited about what lies ahead. I remain committed to leading with integrity, transparency, accountability, and respect as we continue working together to make Auburn an even better community. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all of your hard work and for your staff's hard work as well. I know it's a team effort. With that, we'll go on to the next item on the agenda is the second round of public comments. We have Mr. Richards has signed up. Just a reminder, if you can just provide your name and the town you live in for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Take the first one.
Good evening, my name is Eric Richards. I live on Ravine Drive in Auburn. My comments tonight are a little more varied than I started with. So it's nice to see that we're here at Camp Gleason, but we still have a leaky dam that hasn't been touched or studied, and nothing's been done. Grants have not been applied for, and it sits. We talked about a recreation committee and an enterprise fund tonight. A nice addition to that enterprise fund would be a beach where you charge for parking, or you have services and events and tourism that would connect walking trails potentially to the new development you'd like to make in Drury Square. I think that would be a welcome addition to town funding. I had several questions, but since I can't ask questions of the DPW director, I will pass on that. And I have a letter to read into the record. Good evening. Upholding standards, professional competence, and the ability to execute are minimum requirements to hold senior staff in director level roles. Typically, incompetence is considered intolerable in business and in some government. Depends on where you work. If we move to simplicity, theft is often a very easy problem to solve. The gentleman to my left and to my right provide bracelets, you go to a court, punishment is meted, the evening is done. However, incompetence is 5 to 50 times more sticky and expensive. It's over time, it permeates the culture and the employees. It's dangerous because it's not a single event. It's a recurring operating condition. It compounds through preventable errors, defective borrowing documents, unreconciled accounts, unnecessary consultant and legal costs, wasted employee time, inaccessible records, bad decisions, and an increased opportunity for fraud to occur undetected. This is why government and many professions have minimum professional standards you are required to meet to remain employed. Those standards exist because taxpayers cannot afford to repeatedly pay for senior officials to learn basic functions of the positions they already hold. Our CFO, town accountant, self-authored and signed a letter on May 18th containing an admission of facts demonstrating and plainly admitting that the Auburn Finance Department is operating well below normative minimum standards. The signed letter, delivered on town letterhead, clearly states that Munis, an accounting program, can generate detailed account inquiry reports directly into Excel, PDF, or other formats. Usually it happens in minutes, a couple mouse clicks. The CFO then goes on to claim it would require 40 hours of labor to match payments with reimbursements, transfers, and locate reconciliations, which the software does for them. And then another 40 hours, or I'm sorry, 24.5 hours to retrieve warrant records from office vaults and attic boxes. The total for this would be 105.75 hours of labor. The cost, well over $3,000 to the taxpayer. Auburn has used Munis since 2000. This is not new or experimental software installed last Tuesday. It's the town's integrated financial management system. It contains the general ledger accounts, payable, payroll, procurement, budgeting, reporting, and transaction histories and inquiry functions. Hundreds, if not thousands, of other cities and towns use the same software without having any of these challenges or labor sucks. After 26 years, the town CFO should know how to use it, should manage and ensure that her staff knows how to use it, should ensure that the transactions are coded and linked properly in the software, and can be located without an archaeological expedition through attic boxes. The maker of the software offers YouTube seminars and videos on how to use it and perform these basic functions, training materials in writing for those who don't like video formats. The CFO's letter then leaves only several possible conclusions to the citizen. Either she does not possess adequate proficiency skills and abilities with software integral to her actual job and position on a daily basis. The system is not properly configured or maintained under her supervision. The finance department failed to create an adequate audit trail. Records were preserved in a professionally deficient manner. The public records estimate was grossly and purposely inflated to prevent the citizen from having records that they have a right to access. There is no explanation in which this letter represents a competent financial administration or ability to perform the role for which this individual occupies today. This letter doesn't stand alone. It's part of an ongoing pattern of ejected, on-the-record examples. It must be considered, with the six-figure account discrepancies that remained unresolved for a decade, that the individual's inability to determine which departments failed to complete basic statutory audited transfers between accounts, the corrective reconciliation procedures adopted only after outside review, and often ignored by outside auditors who placed the exact findings in writing. The corrective sorry, I lost my slide. The June bond borrowing documents that reached the select board with multi-million-dollar inconsistencies, coupled with at least a dozen serious omissions and blank areas in the application, the need to reconvene the board for an extra meeting, the training, the succession problems, and the CFO's participation in presenting a pension-enhancing restructuring of her own compensation before the Finance Committee. Any senior manager knows that one isolated error can be corrected, usually with a simple talk, sometimes with remediation. A couple demonstrates the need for retraining and remediation and documented discipline. A repeated multi-year entire tenure pattern across account reconciliations, fiduciary accounts, borrowing, software use, records, training, and personal compensation requires accountability from their employer. Professional standards do not require perfection from humans who don't possess it. We don't. None of us do. They require continuous demonstrated professional competence, execution capabilities, functioning controls, accurate documentation, adequate supervision, and the ability to perform central duties of the position occupied without repeatedly transferring the cost of personal failure to the taxpayer. The board should therefore obtain an independent performance review of the CFO and the finance department, including evaluating their individual munis proficiency, system configuration, financial record architecture, debt document controls, staff training, and compliance with the town accountant's responsibilities by statute. The question is not whether the CFO accountant has experience. The salary of her position was obtained somehow. Someone saw her as a benefit. The question is whether the employee's documented performance satisfies any de minimis standard of her office. Experience, credentials, responsibilities, and salary, and what they represent while being responsible for a $90 million a year budget. Everywhere else, including in government employment, when an employee cannot competently operate principal software that they're required to use daily on the job, they cannot readily reconstruct a financial audit trail, and repeatedly allows material errors to reach decision makers and board-level executives, certainly it's a cry for CEO-level management to intervene. Why? Because it's 10 to 50 times more expensive than theft and much more sticky among their employees who work for them. Theft is a transaction. Incompetence is an annuity paid by the taxpayers. The same failure keeps generating errors, remediation costs, legal expenses, wanted labor, defective decisions, and new opportunities for increased losses year after year. Apparently, basic professional standards apply everywhere else, except if you work for Auburn. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item number 18, minutes. We have minutes from June 8th, 2026, June 22nd, 2026. I believe Mr. Carpenter submitted amendments to those, and then June 25th, 2026. If the members have no other changes except those that were previously noted by Mr. Carpenter, I will accept those as amended. All right, so done. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. We are adjourned. Thank you.